You know what can make up for sitting through 2 hours of a really bad film? A kick-ass ending. All shall be forgiven if the filmmaker can manage to take you to the highest of highs and deliver a jaw-dropping, gut-wrenching, but inevitably rewarding ending to a movie. But that's not so simple now, is it? One way to deliver this is to make the ending ironic. Make the character lose everything but give them a lesson that is enough to change their life. Or if you're a little sadistic like me, make the character win but lose something that makes their victory ultimately tragic. Today, we look at 3 climax scenes from 3 different movies where even though the character comes out triumphant, the cost of it overshadows everything. Let's dive in. Mother India is a classic film that never fails to take you through the gamut of varying emotions. Mehboob Khan, the director of this stunning film, manages to display the strength of a woman, the unity of a village, and the heartlessness of a moneylender, all rolled into one blockbuster. It's a simple story of Radha, a righteous woman who does not let her circumstances deter her spirit. She marries into a family that owes Sukhi Lala, the local moneylender, 500 rupees plus 3/4 the portion of their harvest as interest. When things go south and a storm destroys the village, her husband ends up leaving the family and she spends the next couple of years ensuring that the villagers work together to rebuild everything from scratch. She is successful in her endeavor, but the real test of courage for Radha comes when her own son Birju, now all grown up, starts misbehaving with the young women of the village and manages to turn the people against him. Finally, Sukhi Lala demands his exile from the village and Birju ends up joining the bandits. Birju's anger towards Sukhi Lala came from a place of extreme injustice. His illiteracy restricted him from calculating the years and years worth of harvest that Sukhi Lala had stolen from his family. He knew that the only way to get out of this trap was to kill Sukhi Lala once and for all. With the anger of a revolutionary coursing through his veins, Birju sets out to kill the old man with ease. But that's not where it all ends. His actions that follow transform his revolutionary rage into foolish vengeance. Radha and the villagers were finally out of Sukhi Lala's grip, but the scene begins when Birju takes a step further and kidnaps Sukhi Lala's daughter Rupa from her own wedding just to prove a point. Except, look at what comes between the two. Birju's own brother Ramu.
Birju, माँ ने गांव वालों को जबान दी, मैं माँ की जबान पे मर जाऊंगा.
And he was so drunk with hatred that he would have shot his own blood too. Their tussle allows Rupa to escape until she reaches Radha and hands over a gun to protect her. Fearless, Radha stands between the bandits and Rupa, challenging anybody to dare to take her away. But Rupa runs away, scared, leading to her capture. Finally, Rupa is handed to Birju, who runs into Radha awaiting him. Radha tells Birju to let Rupa go, but Birju is confident that her mother would never shoot her son. But he forgot that his mother was the same woman who had survived enough tragedies to stand stronger than iron. So Radha picks up the gun and Birju finds the strength to stand up and look into his mother's eye, who did something that he could have never imagined in 1,000 years. Radha melts and embraces her son for the last time, who hands her the bangles he had bought for her before taking his last breath in her arms. The village was finally rid of Sukhi Lala's horridness and Radha managed to save the honor of the village. But the cost of it was to become the murderer of her own son, which was going to haunt her for the rest of her life. But what if one gets the chance to erase everything that haunted them? A clean slate, no memories, no traumas, and unfortunately, no recognition of something that once upon a time meant everything. While talking about endings that make you weep, if there's one that feels beautifully tragic, it's from Sadma. Balu Mahendra's acclaimed film has a story that almost feels like it's being told in a different universe altogether. It begins with a young woman named Lata who meets with an accident that results in retrograde amnesia, and she regresses back to her 6-year-old self. Her parents send her for treatment, but she is kidnapped and taken to a brothel, where she meets Somu, a school teacher who recognizes her condition and rescues her from there. He then takes her to his hometown and starts taking care of her. As their bond grows closer, Nehalata starts depending on Somu for her needs and identifies him as her sole caregiver. He was not just a friend, but a parent, the person who she could not live without. He even makes a fool out of himself on multiple occasions just to bring a smile to her face. But Somu faced his own set of challenges. Nehalata's condition makes it difficult for him to handle her at times. But despite it all, he fell in love with her and wanted to fix her illness so that he could take their relationship forward. He takes Nehalata to a local doctor who could help bring her memory back. Simultaneously, Nehalata's parents find out about her location and come all the way to find her. Somu, afraid that the police would arrest him, tries to dodge them. But when he learns that Nehalata is recovered and was about to leave, he rushes to the train station to bring her back. The desperation in him is evident, so much so that he does not even stop after meeting with an accident. All he knew was that he had to get to the station as soon as possible. In tattered condition, he stumbles onto the platform, and that's where the climax scene begins. He searches for her and finally finds her sitting by the window. But a sea of people come between the two. He calls her out by the name she was given, Reshmi. But with her memory back, she no longer responds to that name.
Reshmi! 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 Reshmi!
This is where all our hearts sink. Nehalata did not recognize him at all. Somu's calls for her turned from insistent to scared. He can see her slipping away, and in an attempt to help her jog her memory, he starts imitating the monkey like he used to before to make her laugh. But that did not work either. As the train starts moving, he runs after it, but instead, she thinks he is begging her for money and she throws out a packet of food for him. Somu tries until the very end, but finally, he bangs against a pole and falls flat to the ground. The cost of Nehalata's recovery felt heavy on Somu's shoulders. In this universe, Nehalata may have forgotten Som Prakash, but maybe in an alternate reality, Reshmi and Somu continue living in their happy bubble, away from any force that could separate the two. Unless that force is death, and when death comes into the picture, nobody can escape its grip. The only difference is that the grip can sometimes be smothering, but other times liberating too. Padmaavat takes the cake for being one of the most powerful, grand and profound love stories ever made. Sanjay Leela Bhansali is no doubt a legendary director, but his genius casting for this film makes it so tempting for one to revisit it again and again. While I did call it a love story, its plot is not a straightforward one. Queen Padmavati's beauty is considered to be one of the many nayab things in the world, and when Alauddin Khilji, the ruthless Sultan of Delhi, hears of this, he wages a war against Chittor in order to possess her. Even after 6 months of unsuccessful siege, Alauddin is unable to make any progress, so he pretends to call for a truce and asks Maharawal Ratan Singh, the king of Chittor, to invite him for lunch before he heads back to Delhi. They agree and do so, and Alauddin's request to see Padmavati is also granted, but in a way where he does not see her face directly and only for a brief amount of time. After getting a taste of her beauty, Alauddin goes into a frenzy. He tricks Ratan Singh and takes him to Delhi too. But Padmavati's true beauty was her courage. She rescues Ratan Singh from Delhi, but they knew that now nobody could stop the war that was coming. Both the kings challenge each other to a duel, the outcome of which would help avoid the battle altogether. But Alauddin's deceit in the end causes the fight to begin in full force. When news of Ratan Singh's death reaches the women, Padmavati makes a decision. Without Ratan Singh to lead his army, Alauddin was sure to win, and then he would get exactly what he wanted. She couldn't fight the inevitable, but she could take her destiny in her own hands.
सौंप देंगे अपने आप को साथ में और साथ मिलकर जौहर करेंगे.
The scene begins with the preparations, and a top shot reveals how big the pyre was. Padmavati leads the women while Alauddin's soldiers try to break in. We keep cutting back and forth to show how the external, purposeless violence of the men is juxtaposed with the silent, significant protest of the women. As Alauddin strides in, he has one goal in his mind. He goes straight to find Padmavati. The first door he opens, he finds no luck. But look at the body language here. Something had definitely shifted within him. Burning coals chased him away for a while, but he had come too far to go back empty-handed. Consumed with lust, he charges forward. Bhansali really milks the scene, taking his own sweet time to show every tiny detail as Padmavati makes her way to the burning pyre, and Khilji makes his way to her. She walks in and all the women follow. The moment is at its peak. Will Khilji succeed? Will Padmavati actually go through with it? Alauddin reaches just as the door is about to shut, and Padmavati lets the fire consume. In 1 minute, Alauddin's victory is rendered utterly meaningless. His pursuit and the lives lost, all for nothing. If there is one thing that Hindi cinema has gotten right, it's the ability to really juice out the emotions from scenes. The connections you feel with the characters, the pain you're engulfed in, it's a part of the very fabric that gets stitched into such narratives. So the next time you see an ending that hands the protagonist a win without having them to pay a price, just know that the potential there was far greater. What other films can you think of that have such endings? Comment down below to let us know. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in our next video.